It's officially 10 o'clock. So we should get our meeting underway. Aaron, pledge first.
You bow your hearts and heads, please. Gracious Father, we just come to you now. We thank you for your goodness and grace. Thank you for the opportunity to gather here this morning. Pray that you would lead and guide our discussions, Lord, for your good and for the county, Father. We pray for those first responders and those overseas that are serving, Father. We pray that you be with them, keep them safe, keep your hedge of protection on them, and guide us, we pray this day in Jesus' name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call present, we have myself, Commissioner Stiles, Commissioner Wade, Commissioner Bachman. Under public comment for 3 minutes, we have nothing listed today, so we'll move on to the approval of the meeting for the special meeting minutes from September 25th, 2025.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Having a first and a second, any additional comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion approves. Next will be our expenditures.
Yes, you see the expenditures that are listed on the agenda, and I'm going to make a motion to approve those expenditures. If I can have a second, then I'll go ahead. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go through what our top 10 expenses were. Number one was our county retirement contribution, and that was $208,333. UPMC for insurance, health insurance, $195,799. Then we have the CYS home, Adelphoi Village, at $96,462. Another group home for CYS, Cornell Abraxas Group, at $75,006. Our third quarter donation allotment to the Bedford County Development Association, $30,000. Our electric, which goes through PPEC, which is a cooperative that is saving the county money to go through PPEC, and that was $26,332. Then we have two amounts for the jail food through Summit, and one was $24,127. The second was $24,049. Final installment, our responsibility for PCOM for $18,837, and closing cost on the CYS building to Hometown Bank, $16,330.
Thank you. Having a first and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion will carry. Under old business, we have nothing, but under county staff updates, we do have some people in our agenda this morning. We have the Bedford County Visitors Bureau. Amanda's going to give us a presentation. If you would go up to the microphone, please.
Sizing it up, yes. All right. Good morning, commissioners. First, I want to say thank you for allowing us this time to share an update about our strategic plan. I want you to know that I am here on behalf of our entire board and our executive director, Brooke Kelly. I've been asked to present what our 5-year strategic plan will be. As you remember, you officially passed the increase for the hotel occupancy tax going from 2% to 5%. That will be effective January 1st, 2026. And as part of that increase in the tax, you have asked the Visitors Bureau to create a strategic plan to understand how to effectively use those funds to help increase tourism in Bedford County. And I'm happy to report that we have passed unanimously our strategic plan. This plan was in the works essentially immediately after you passed. But we spent a lot of time this summer really going over everything we need to do to effectively use this money, and not only doing those different items on the strategic plan, but also making sure we had metrics to hold ourselves accountable and to report back on how we're going to be successful and measure that success. And I'm also very happy to report that even though the tax has not gone into effect, we have already started to execute the strategic plan. So in our written plan, which I'm so sorry, do you have copies of, or would you like an additional paper copy today?
I don't need it, I read it so.
You got it? Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
yes, and we appreciate, it was for the public that are here, people that are here. It was emailed, but we also had a meeting with a group from the Visitors Bureau to go over it in depth, detail, look at spreadsheets, et cetera.
Beautiful. Yes, we did have that meeting, and I'm very excited to share the details of the plan with everyone today. And I do want to make mention that as we were going through the process of creating the strategic plan, we kept the letter of intent that was presented to the Visitors Bureau from the commissioners that was agreed upon. That was our guide, making sure that we hit every point on that letter of intent. And then we also referred to the public comments that were made during the conversation about increasing the tax. That was also very important in steering how we develop this strategic plan. So I will highlight some of the items. As I mentioned, we've already started to execute this plan. So if you will, this is year zero, right? We've not even passed the tax and we're already making great progress. We have already redeveloped the external name of the Visitors Bureau. Our tagline previously, as you may recall, was Small Town America. And now we have rebranded the Visitors Bureau as Discover Bedford County. And that is very typical of a destination marketing organization to have, visit Erie or discover Lancaster. That's a call to action, right? We want our visitors to come and discover Bedford County. So that's really exciting. And our new tagline is Discover the Unexpected. So really, we know there's so much in Bedford County that we have to offer, and that really tells our visitors there's so much to explore. So that has already been deployed. We've also deployed a brand new logo and brand book that gives us a guide for how we're going to present Bedford County, whether that be in print material, website, or social media. And Brooke, our amazing executive director, has already started to execute our new website. So as you remember, that was a pain point as well. We mentioned specifically in the letter of intent the idea to work with SimpleView. And for those that don't know, SimpleView is a vendor that specializes in websites for visitors bureaus and destination marketing organizations. And not just websites, but content management, so that we have pictures and events and details about what's happening in our county that would attract visitors. So I do want to mention that SimpleView was previously identified as a potential vendor. Brooke has done the work of going through and looking at other vendors just to make sure that SimpleView was the right vendor. And after thorough research, we feel confident SimpleView is going to be the right vendor. We're moving forward with working with them. So she's already worked on developing the new website. And I'll speak to more on that and when that will be launching in just a moment. Additionally, social media. I know personally that was a pain point for me. That's also been addressed. So we have successfully launched our Instagram. So follow us at Bedford County, Discover Bedford County. And we've also launched a LinkedIn as well. So also appealing to those professionals. And if I have time, I will highlight some of the wins as far as some of the metrics we've already seen successful in the launch of those two social media platforms.
Jesus.
I think this is important to the community.
Yes, okay,
and
perfect. I know we had
want to
said
give
5
you
minutes.
this time. No,
I'm a
no,
talker,
no.
so I'm
It's
gonna
5
go
minutes
over
when
it.
it's a public comment, but
Perfect.
you're here to
Okay,
give a county update.
Beautiful. Okay, sounds good. So I'll go into that. So we have seen a 62% increase in Facebook reach. Our engagement has gone up 64%. Again, Instagram just launched and we're already at 3,800 impressions with almost 200 engagements. And then LinkedIn is gaining legs as well. What I'm so excited about is Brooke has also engaged with different influencers. And again, this is in pretty quick order, pretty short order. Literally within the last month has engaged with a number of influencers, including Kim Delos, who is Kim Hyped It is her handle. She has over 70,000 followers on Facebook and 70,000 followers on Instagram as well. And with her post about Bedford County, highlighting everything we have to offer, she's been able to reach over 50,000 people on Facebook, 4,000 on Instagram. And again, this is just gaining legs, and to see this success already is really exciting. So that's just a couple of social media highlights there. And then as we move into year one, so again, that was year 0. As we move into year 1, as the tax increases, we will start to execute other steps of the plan. So of course, continuing to build out social media will be a focus. We're going to officially launch our website next year, and we're going to begin work on a countywide wayfinding system. So with the countywide wayfinding system, year 1 is going to be planning, with years 2 being the actual execution of installing the wayfinding signage. What's really exciting about wayfinding is not only is it going to show all of our visitors what there is to offer in Bedford County, but it's also going to highlight for our residents what they can be proud of, what we offer here in Bedford County that they can enjoy as well. So think of things like Shawnee, think of the Top Trail, right? These are all tourist attractions that we can highlight. And as somebody is driving down the Lincoln Highway, they're going to be able to see, wow, that's where I can find this attraction, that's where I can find this trail. They're gonna get out, they're gonna enjoy it, they're gonna spend their money, and they're gonna wanna come back, which is really exciting. So we'll be doing the planning in year 1, and then the actual installation in year 2. And the Visitors Bureau has also set aside money to make sure that we can maintain these signs. For those of us that have been to touristy areas like Williamsburg, or I think of Jim Thorpe, those areas have wayfinding signage, and it really highlights everything that location, that destination has to offer with that. And one more piece, if I can, about wayfinding. We hear the feedback that sometimes, whatever it is, we can be very Bedford Townships, centric, and potentially fail to include the rest of the county. That is what I'm so excited about with wayfinding, is we're going to be able to highlight the fact that Saxton is the gateway to Lake Racetown, and that in Breezewood, you can find such amazing outdoor recreation. And in Everett, we have the Mid-State Trail that's right there and available. Again, this is going to help visitors, but it's also going to help our residents be really proud of what we have to offer in Bedford County. So really excited for that. The other piece that I want to highlight is we currently have a cooperative marketing grant where we help nonprofits market what they have to offer. Most of that marketing goes out of the county to attract visitors. That's a program that we currently have. It's successful. We're going to evolve that. So rather than calling it a cooperative marketing grant, it's going to be the Tourism Growth Initiative. And with that, yes, we can help with marketing, but we can also help with enriching the assets that we have for tourism. So that's going to give us even more ability to help support these attractions and these reasons why people will come to Bedford County. So that's also going to happen in year 1. We are going to make sure that we're focusing in year 2 and 3 on the key markets for us. So that is Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Philly, Pittsburgh, and we want to expand. So now with the additional funds, we'll be able to expand into Cleveland. Ohio's a huge opportunity for us and an untapped market. Also into New York City. But especially to get into a market like New York City that's so saturated, there's a million things you can do if you live in New York City. We're going to need those funds to be able to really market to those potential visitors as well. So that's year 2 and 3. Of course, we're continuing to make our social media more robust. One plan that Brooke has that I'm very excited about is creating marketing campaigns to help target tourism during need periods. Everyone in this room knows that we come to a screeching halt when it comes to the first quarter, right? January, February, March, nobody's coming to Bedford County, not nobody, but we want more visitors. So with that, we'll be able to have a marketing campaign in social media that's going to help us drive visitors during those need periods, and that's going to benefit everyone. So really excited for that. In years 4 and 5, again, continuing to build on the wayfinding signage, social media, the website. But the other piece that's really key for years 4 and 5 is our capital investments. So as we gain the revenue from the hotel occupancy tax, we are going to put a portion of that aside to make a large capital investment. Now, we don't know exactly what that's going to be, but we want to invest in the future of tourism in Bedford County, and we will have that money set aside to invest in something large. Now, I don't even want to give you an example because we don't know where we're going to be in years 4 and 5, right? But it has to be something, we have to follow PA Act 18 of how we use that money. So I can tell you that we know for sure it will not be competing with any private entity. That's important, and it will be created to help drive tourism. So more on that. And then also I wanted to highlight the fact that we will have metrics, as I mentioned earlier, to help measure our success. So a couple of examples of those metrics would be obviously monitoring a hotel occupancy hotel occupancy, so the occupancy percentage, also our average rate. If we're successful, both of those metrics will be increasing. We also want to track our length of stay. Right now, we want our visitors potentially to come average about 2 nights. We want them to come longer because we're offering so much more for them to do in Bedford County. Obviously, they stay longer, they're spending more money here, which we love. And then additionally, there's going to be tracking of the visitors coming through. We have a number of ways to do this. One of those is simple as tracking the number of people that come off the turnpike and making sure that that is increasing as we spend this money. And then we also will be tracking closely the success of those that receive our grants through the Tourism Growth Initiative, making sure that we're seeing tourism increase as we give those funds to those different entities. And there's also secondary metrics that we'll track, of course, social media engagement, website traffic. We have even talked about doing visitor satisfaction surveys and measuring that to ensure that when the guests come here, the visitors come here, that they're really having a good experience and telling all their friends to come to Bedford County as well. In closing, I just wanted to highlight a number of things that have been already successful. Last year, Bedford County tourism brought in $300 million to our county. So I want to paint that picture because I want you all to know how important tourism is, but then also the opportunity that we have to grow that tourism. As you know, I was one of the people that spoke out against the increase in the hotel occupancy tax. Obviously, nobody wants a tax to increase, but my primary concern was if we were to get this additional money, would it be spent in a way that would drive tourism? Would there be metrics to hold us accountable that that money was being successfully spent? And I truly believe with this plan that we have that. We have a path forward, we have metrics to make sure that we're spending the money in the right places in the right ways. And I feel very confident as we move forward in the future of tourism here in Bedford County.
Would you like to introduce Brooke, because a lot
Yes.
of people here don't know who Brooke is?
Hi, everyone. I'm Brooke Kelly. Nice to meet everyone. This is amazing. You did a great job.
Thank you. I wanted to ask, was there anything, so Brooke's here, was there anything that I know?
No, you did a great
Perfect.
job.
And then Corey, our president.
Good. Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Good job.
And then Louisa, our vice president.
I know, I'm
No, go ahead.
I know, Brooke, you are reaching out to hoteliers too. That's something that you
Yeah,
want to,
building those bridges.
building bridges,
Yeah,
as well as other collaborative relationships with other leaders here in the county, which was also important to the commissioners and to, the public, and you've embraced that, so. Great job, great job.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to big things coming,
Us
So-
too.
thank you.
Thank you.
And I love the enthusiasm and commitment from the board and everybody at the Visitors Bureau.
It's very exciting. Yeah, it really is. It's huge.
And I know you're working on transparency, so some of the people in the public that have questions, they can come to the board and actually come to the Visitors Bureau and ask questions and get.
Yes. Absolutely.
More
On
detail.
that note, I will mention that Brooke has prepared a press release that after this meeting will go out immediately. Additionally, we will be listing our plan on the website so that anyone can look at it. And in the future, we want to be able to host town halls, allowing the public to share any feedback that they have, but then also for us to help share some of our successes and learnings as well.
Thank you for your hard work.
Absolutely, thank you.
Very much.
And commissioners, thank you. Thank you for your partnership and thank you for your support. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for reaching the October deadline.
Oh, yeah. we
I know.
had it in early, just for the record. Thank you.
Next on our schedule, we have a presentation on juvenile justice. Judge Travis Livingston.
All right, good morning.
Morning.
For all of you that came to learn about tourism, you're going to learn a little bit about juvenile justice. Thank you for your time this morning. I had a presentation, and not just me, I'm a very minor part in this. We're going to give a presentation here on for juvenile justice that, so the reason for this really is twofold. Juvenile Justice Week was recognized in Pennsylvania last week, October 6th to the 12th. The other reason was during our budget meetings, Commissioner asked about juvenile delinquency placements. And despite my best efforts, now I don't normally deal with the juvenile system. That's not my court docket. So despite my best efforts to explain that, I don't think I did a great job because I learned in subsequent budget hearings then that there were some, I guess, misinformed statements made during those subsequent hearings. So what I want to do is bring everybody together. They can give you a lot more information about what we do, and probably can say it better than I can. So we're going to highlight the work that's done in juvenile justice here in Bedford County, and I want to inform the public and the commissioners about the important work that these people do. So who I brought with me here today, and I do want to thank them because I know I have a full court schedule this morning. They're waiting for me down there. I know Judge Hershey does as well. And I know, I believe everyone else is going to speak certainly has a full schedule. And they took they volunteered their time here today very quickly to come give you this information. Really, when we talk about juvenile justice, I think you'll see three themes established through all of these speakers. What we're doing in juvenile justice is helping kids at risk. We're protecting kids who are many times the victims of actions perpetuated by another juvenile, and keeping our community safe. So those are probably the three things that you will hear across all these speakers. But you're about to hear from Judge Brandy Hershey, who handles all of our delinquency and dependency cases, CYS, probation, the district attorney, and the public defender. So I'll hand it off to them. They're going to speak to you individually, and then I'm going to come back to you at the end just to summarize and give you some statistics. All right? Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I want to thank the commissioners for giving us this opportunity to talk about the very important work that's done every day in Bedford County to help our juveniles at risk. So the clear goals of the Pennsylvania juvenile justice system, they're established by the law. The Juvenile Act mandates that we pay balanced attention to basically three things: protection of the community, imposition of accountability for the offenses that were committed, and development of competencies to enable the juvenile to become a responsible, productive member of the community. So as the juvenile delinquency and dependency judge, I follow the principles of balanced and restorative justice. I focus on these three distinct areas. Again, just to summarize: number one, protection of the community; number two, accountability for the offender; and number three, competency development, which really equates to treatment for the offender. So as the judge, when I'm handling juvenile delinquency cases, the law requires me to use the least restrictive means to accomplish those three goals. So generally, the cases we have in juvenile court, we can divide them into two categories. The first category, many of these cases are resolved by keeping the juvenile offender in their home, and that's what we want. We want to keep these kids in their home. Some of these cases are resolved informally through the probation office, and they don't even ever need to come in front of me. Other cases we can resolve with consent decree, which is similar to the ARD for first-time adult offenders. We have that in juvenile court for first-time offenders. It's called a consent decree. And then other cases are resolved where we'll put offenders on probation, but they stay in their home. Now, the second category of cases, these cases are much, much more complex because some offenders, due to the nature of the offense, the nature of the serious crime that was committed, or their lack of progress with less restrictive services like probation. If they're not successful, some of those kids we have to remove from their home and put in placement facility for intensive inpatient treatment. Typically, these out-of-home placements are only for serious cases with serious rehabilitative needs. Now, in order to focus on the least restrictive means for rehabilitation, we've, as a system, implemented multiple strategies since I took the bench in 2020 to reduce the need for these out-of-home placements. So I just want to review some of those. Our probation office is able to utilize in-home GPS technology in order to monitor, allow these kids to stay in the home, but we keep a much closer tabs on them. Due to the fact that we currently have appropriate staffing levels in our juvenile probation office, we're able to utilize what we call intensive probation, which equates to greater oversight, more home visits, but yet we try to keep these kids in their home. We have enhanced collaboration and cooperation between Children and Youth Services and juvenile probation. That's really important because we can utilize service providers for additional supports. A good example of that is our independent living program. That program comes through CYS, but they do a lot of work through the juvenile delinquency cases, and they frankly do a phenomenal job. For juveniles that I do put in placement, I conduct placement review hearings a minimum of every 3 months. I regularly, though, conduct either additional or early review hearings. If I have a juvenile who's in placement, but their next court date isn't for a month or two, but they've completed the program, the attorneys all know I will always make room on my docket to get those kids in as soon as they're ready to be discharged. We don't want to keep them in placement not even a day longer than they need. As I said, our goal is to get them home as soon as therapeutically appropriate. I believe we have better outcomes for these kids when we have more review hearings. Because sometimes, number one, maybe they're not doing so well, so we need to implement some additional services. On the other hand, maybe they're doing really great. And that gives me an opportunity to provide them with positive reinforcement, recognize their good progress, which on the back end further motivates them to get with the program and to internalize what they're learning in treatment, which means they work through their program quicker, which means we get them home quicker. For juveniles who are staying in the home and are on probation, I do review hearings for those kids every 6 months. Again, earlier if necessary. But one of the things I always tell those kids are, you have terms and conditions of your supervision. If you can work your way through those sooner, I'll consider early termination, which then frees up resources for the other cases who need a little bit more intensive supervision. So those are some of the things we've tried to do in the last several years to have better outcomes. Now, in terms of rehabilitating these juvenile offenders, it's not an exact science. Every case is different. Every kid is different. For example, if I need to put an offender in placement, I take into consideration the recommendations of psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, counselors, and the juvenile's family. Before every single review hearing, I receive a comprehensive written report from the placement facility that outlines that particular kid's, what the goals are, how they're doing in treatment, and any additional recommendations. During the actual hearing, I hear from the district attorney's office, the probation office, the public defender's office, and any service providers, and the juvenile's counselor from the facility. They're all able to answer additional questions, which allows us to tailor a treatment plan specific to that juvenile. Now, the juveniles that we do have in placement, those are our most challenging cases. Generally, their underlying offenses are serious felony offenses, such as sexual offenses, arson, stabbings, aggravated assaults. And unfortunately, a lot of these kids, they also have pretty severe mental health issues. So they're not simple cases to resolve. But legally and morally, we're obligated to use every tool we have to rehabilitate these kids and give them a chance to reach adulthood in a successful manner. These kids aren't just a number on a budget line. They matter and they deserve the best chance we can give them. And the law requires it. Juvenile Justice Week, I think it is important because it gives us an opportunity to inform the public as to this very important work and highlight and recognize those employees that we have in our county, such as from the Juvenile Probation Office, Children and Youth Services, Independent Living, and other service providers. I think the public rarely hears about these cases, and I understand why. Pursuant to the Juvenile Act, everything we do is confidential. But I just want to highlight those individuals. They work tirelessly, they work hard, and they truly do go above and beyond for these kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate the time as always. As Judge Littlegood mentioned, historically, the Commonwealth has recognized the first week of October as Juvenile Justice Week, and the month of October is known as Youth Juvenile Justice Action Month across our nation. This acknowledgement not only conveys awareness about the importance of how the juvenile justice system protects the community by providing youth with accountability and rehabilitation, but also recognizes all the hardworking and dedicated professionals who support our youth and protect our communities. These professionals here in Bedford County, our judges, our district attorney's office, our public defender, and our probation department, all working collaboratively with Children and Youth Services. Each are highly dedicated to the safety and well-being of the community, and each must be highly trained and competent in their roles to ensure that any youth receiving services in Bedford County obtain the appropriate level of care in order to prepare them for re-entry into our neighborhood, our schools, our places of employment. Without the appropriate intervention or use of a lesser intervention selected solely based on budgetary constraints, places the youth at risk for reoffending behaviors and threaten the safety and the well-being of the community as a whole, which defeats the whole purpose of balanced and restorative justice. As a child protection agency, I want to be able to look at my neighbors in the eye and know that we've done all we can to keep our children safe from sexual assault, theft, aggravated assault, possession of firearms, arson, and the myriad of related charges. When children are the perpetrators of these heinous acts, and that is what we're talking about here, these are juveniles, these are children, it also speaks to the behaviors that they have been exposed to. So without the interruption of these cycles, without proper treatment, care, trained teams of individuals, we are at risk contributing to generational offending and reoffending behaviors that will stay in our backyards here in Bedford County. Because this work is not always easy, because it matters in the long run, because what we do today matters for generations to come, it is important that we take time to appreciate and acknowledge the specialized skill set that requires to make our system work for children and youth in need. The collaboration and diligence of our Bedford County agencies must be valued. In this system, we work selflessly and undertake the endeavor to protect Bedford County's children, often with low pay, long hours, tremendous demands, and little appreciation, and with great criticism. As for the teams that come together for the safety and the well-being of our children, youth, and families, I applaud you all. The collaboration of Bedford County Courts, the District Attorney's Office, the Public Defender, and our Probation Department, along with Children and Youth Services, is making a difference every single day. You all show up for work, step up when others do not understand, and put your best foot forward. Sadly, the work is not getting easier, but I see you and I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Would you introduce yourself and your role?
Yeah, I'm Chris Gresco. I'm the administrator for Bedford Children, Youth, and Families. Thank you.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Bernard Smith. I am the Chief Probation Officer for both the adults and the juvenile side of probation. I had a little bit of a speech there to present, but fortunately, as you can see, we have a team, and the other members of my team have pretty much addressed 90% of it, and what we do, right, and how we do it. Understanding how we take a child who has often a very serious allegation, sometimes maybe minor, and we take that child and we assess them, right? We interview them, we make determinations, based on their needs, and we try to get them to an appropriate level of care, determine an appropriate level of supervision, right? Figure out what can we do to heal that child, to make them whole, and that's what it's about. One of the things that I've learned in coming to this position, because my experience truly was predominantly with adults prior to this. One of the things I've learned is that on the juvenile side, it is not adversarial. It is your public defender, your district attorney, your treatment providers, your judges, CYS, everybody coming together in a team approach. I sat down in meetings with all of the above as we try to determine what is the best course of action to take with the case. And I don't see that in any other element of the justice system. And I will say in our county, I see that here, I see that here than what I see in other counties even. So we have a group of people that really try to work together to figure out what the best outcome is. And obviously that is to figure out what is the least restrictive means, right, to go about rehabilitating that child. And so with that, as Chris, I applaud everybody involved. Everybody that makes this happen, right, that gives us the resources that we need to do it. And our resources are limited, ladies and gentlemen. They're not infinite. Obviously, within our county, we have limited resources, but also outside of our county, treatment programs, detention centers when needed, all those things are limited. And that creates other problems for us, right, in trying to find an appropriate level of care for that child. What we do is we strive to get better every day and to get better at working with what resources we have. And I think we do an excellent job with that being said. What I do want to talk about briefly also is when I took this position, we had a lot of building to do, and we're still building. When I came into this job, I had one juvenile probation officer, and I think she had more than 60 cases at that time. We realized very quickly that was an insurmountable number for a juvenile PO, and we worked to lower that number. We went through, as Judge Hershey indicated, reviewing cases, seeing what cases on the street that we were able to remove from supervision because we could see that it was no longer needed or divert by other means. And we really, began to work on that. But then also we realized that we needed help. We needed more personnel, right, to throw at this. And subsequently, we attempted to hire a juvenile, somebody with a lot of juvenile experience to become our deputy chief. He didn't last very long, wasn't up to the task. So that being said, we had to figure out another solution, right? We hired another probation officer and we appointed a part-time supervisor to assist with this endeavor. And that made a world of difference. Going through that, our department now has grown. That person that we had hired also went on to other employment. And we have since replaced her as well. And we're in the process of training her. But what I want to talk about here and take this opportunity to recognize this individual that was here when I came. She had 9 months on the job, 9 months of experience out of college. And really, she's still, like we all are, we're still learning to this day, right? She was building herself up, learning how to do the job better and better with each passing moment. So I want to tell a story with this. Here, talk about a chief that had an abundance of experience supervising offenders under adult supervision and in training officer safety skills, but really no experience in juvenile justice. So like I said, when I took this over, there was about 60 cases that this individual had, and she had about 9 months on the job. That being said, what I did know about her, not knowing a whole lot, was that she graduated with honors from Mount Aloysius, which to her boss, that meant already that he had the confidence, based on his affiliations with that college, that she'd be able to handle anything. But despite that, we did attempt to hire someone from a neighboring county that had several years of juvenile justice experience as a deputy. That individual unfortunately did not last, which led us again to revisit the problem. I also found out that the ideal caseload for a JPO is about 20. Right, that's ideally where they should be to truly be effective at their job, right? To have the time they need to properly address their cases. Because as Judge mentioned, we look for, many of these are intensive, right? Intensive cases where we need to see them maybe at least once a week, if not more, right? Just to make sure that things are happening, what they need, as they need to, and they're getting the support that is necessary. So that led us to hire another officer and played a part in the creation of a part-time supervisor to help with that workload. At that point, not only was Lexis still learning a lot about the job, she also became one of the main trainers for her newly hired partner. As a result, her partner developed efficiently and became another asset to the department. This allowed her caseloads to lower and obviously made the job more attainable. Several months ago, that individual also moved on to other employment and again left us with a vacancy. Lexis took an active role in helping me to interview and determine the replacement. Now that position has been filled, and we have Emily Benton, who is our new probation officer. Now at this point, Lexis also, in maintaining a high caseload once again, is helping to train Emily in her new position, get her up to speed with how we operate. She's doing this again while maintaining that caseload, and as her chief, I try to make myself available for whatever she needs to get her the trainings, tools necessary to be there, to help assist with transport, supervision, whatever is needed. But the list of the list of questions and issues that come up is ever increasing, right? And those complications are things that we have to deal with. Most often, though, when these questions or complications come up, she comes to me with potential solutions to the problems that she's encountering and is just looking for my approval as to that appropriate course of action that she's come up with. That's a hard thing to train into your staff, and I see that type of critical problem solving and thinking exhibited in her every day without me needing to prompt her. Lexis never complains, she never slows down, she is always putting her clients in a department above all else. I see the work that she puts in on a daily basis and the emotional toll that the job takes on her as she takes the responsibility of the position very seriously. I cannot ask for a more dedicated, competent, or hardworking staff member, and Bedford County cannot ask for a better defender of its youth or protector for its communities. And this said, I would like to take a moment to recognize her in this work and dedication. Lexis, if you come forward. So this is a small token of our appreciation for the hard work and dedication that you put forth every day.
Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Ashlyn Clark, and I'm the district attorney. I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to kind of share with you this morning in recognition of Juvenile Justice Week. At the heart of the juvenile justice system, it's simple. It's a powerful truth that children are different from adults. And because they are, their capacity for change, for growth, for redemption is greater. And because of this, as previously explained, the goals of the juvenile justice system are uniquely focused, not just on accountability, but on rehabilitation, reintegration, and restoration. From the moment a juvenile enters the justice system, a network of dedicated professionals mobilizes. Not just prosecutors, but public defenders, probation officers, law enforcement, caseworkers, school officials, treatment providers, and community advocates. And I think that's pretty clear, the amazing team that we have here this morning. It is this collaborative effort that allows us to craft responses that are individualized, developmentally appropriate, and aligned with both public safety and long-term outcomes for our youth. So as Judge Hershey explains, a large majority of our cases don't see the courtroom. Many juvenile cases are addressed through informal adjustments, giving our juveniles the opportunity to take responsibility, make amends, and avoid formal court intervention. These cases often include first-time offenses or lower-level conduct, and by diverting them early, we reduce the chance of deeper system involvement.
Other juveniles are offered consent decrees, and that's the juvenile equivalent of ARD for adults. This is a powerful tool that balances accountability with opportunity. Under a consent decree, youth who successfully complete the terms set by the courts can earn the opportunity for expungement. Now, there are other juveniles that are placed on probation. They are adjudicated, which is the equivalent of a guilty plea in the adult system. They are placed on probation, which allows them to remain in the community while receiving critical services. This includes mental health care, substance abuse treatment, educational support, and mentoring. These interventions, delivered in the least restrictive setting possible, are often the most effective in redirecting a young person's path. So a large majority of the cases that we have here in Bedford County fall into one of those three categories. But we do recognize that there are some cases that demand a higher level of intervention. In rare but serious circumstances, when a juvenile has committed a violent or sexual offense, placement may be necessary. These decisions are never taken lightly. In these instances, the safety of the public and the well-being of the juvenile both guide the court's actions. Placement ensures that the juvenile receives intensive treatment and services in a structured environment. Some of these services may not be feasible within the community. Even then, the goal remains the same: rehabilitation, support healing, and prepare the juvenile for a safe and productive return to society. While treatment and rehabilitation are central to the juvenile justice system, we also recognize and respect the impact that crime has on victims. In many juvenile cases, the victims are not strangers. They are siblings, parents, classmates, or other children in the community. These deeply personal connections make the emotional and physical impact even more significant. In situations like this, placement isn't just appropriate, it's absolutely essential to ensure the safety and well-being of everyone involved. The juveniles we currently have in placement are placed because of the extreme seriousness of their offenses or situations. These aren't minor infractions. Some of the cases that we have are rape of a child. The victim is obviously a child, is a family member of the juvenile, and this juvenile has prior sexual offenses that they've been involved in the past. Clear mental health, so that's one example. Another example is aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. This juvenile attempted to harm a family member. Again, serious mental health concerns, history of aggressive behavior. Another one is an arson in which the juvenile had set fire to properties within the community. This was extremely dangerous behavior, has had a very long-lasting impact on the community. So the juveniles that we have in placement are there because that is the level of care and treatment that they need, and that is the level that the public needs them to receive in order for them to move forward. It's also important to emphasize that placement is not indefinite, nor is it punitive in nature. We continuously review each case to assess progress and determine when a less restrictive setting may be appropriate. Step-down decisions are made carefully based on treatment goals, behavioral progress, and the safety of the juvenile and others. As Judge Hershey said, no juvenile remains in a secured facility for any longer than they need to. Our collective aim is always to return the youth to the community when it is safe and clinically appropriate to do so, with the right supports in place to promote long-term success. At the end of the day, behind every court order and every case number and every line item on the budget, there is a child. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that. These are our children in our community. Juvenile Justice Week is a reminder that it is our responsibility not only to uphold the law, but to lead with compassion, to protect the vulnerable, and to believe in the possibility of change. Through collaboration, accountability, and care, we are not just managing cases, we're shaping futures here in Bedford County. And when we get it right, we don't just change one life, we strengthen our entire community. I also have to say kudos to Lexus. She makes my job a lot easier. Like Chief Smith said, she doesn't come to me with problems, she comes with solutions. This is my solution to potentially fix, this issue that we're having. So it really is a collaborative effect. We have a really great team, and I think that the juvenile cases are probably some of my favorite because of that. So thank you for your time.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Karen Hendershot, I'm Bedford County Public Defender. The first thing that I would like to say is I would like to thank all of my colleagues and the judges of the courts of Bedford County, Judge Livingood, Judge Hershey, and everyone for providing us with this opportunity to speak today. I don't think that it's very often that the public hears what we do. If you're fortunate enough to never be involved in the juvenile or the adult criminal justice system, that's fantastic. So obviously you wouldn't know. But every day we are working as a group and as various agencies to try to do the absolute best that we can for the citizens of Bedford County. I think that Lexis deserves all of the credit that she received here today. She is extraordinarily hardworking, and she's an example of just one of the amazing individuals that's working with our kids in Bedford County, as well as the unnamed number of children and youth caseworkers, as well as Emily, who's new to being the position of JPO. I'd also like to extend my gratitude to my colleagues across the aisle at the District Attorney's Office. Juvenile cases are treated much differently than adult cases. While we are in an adversarial system and we are often arguing back and forth about how to handle a case or where the law stands on a case versus the fact patterns, in the juvenile system, we are very much focused on the kids. And we throw around this word juvenile because that's what we're calling them, but they're kids. They're our kids. They're kids from this community, and they're the kids of Bedford County. And when we're talking about numbers or we're talking about placements or we're talking about cases, everybody that has stressed this could not be more correct. These are kids. These are our kids, and we take this very, very personally. I take my clients very personally. They're not just my clients, they're my kids. And I've been doing this now as a public defender since 2012. So I've worked with a lot of kids. And it is very personal for me, just the same as it is with everyone else in this office. So we wish for people to understand how seriously we take what we do. And we don't just leave it at the door when we go home. There's no punching out when you do what we do for a living. It goes with you everywhere you go. First thing I want to point out is, as public defender, unlike on the adult side, I accept all juveniles for services. We do not look at the resources of their families. Their families are not required to provide them with legal counsel. And so I could care less what their families do for a living or what their resources are. I'm making sure that that juvenile has defense counsel. If I have a conflict in the case, maybe there's more than one child that's charged in the case, or I have a client that might be the victim in the case or a witness in the case, we have defense attorneys that come in from Bedford County as well as surrounding counties, and they will work as conflict counsel and they will handle that case. So the kids coming into our system are going to have attorneys, period. And they have very experienced attorneys. As Attorney Clark and Judge Hershey already pointed out, there are a number of ways that kids coming into the juvenile delinquency system have their cases dealt with that may not even see the program. And that's obviously the best outcome. That's obviously what we want. We don't want kids saddled with something that's going to follow them around for decades. This is not like it was when we were kids and something that maybe went on in our schools, was just kind of dealt with in-house and then you moved on. That's not the world we live in now. We now live in a world with, as you all know, everything is data-based, everything follows you. So if we can deal with, or the district attorney's office and the probation office can deal with a child situation in what we call an informal adjustment, that's the best. They're going to come in, they're going to deal kind of off the record, off paper with whatever the issue was and address it in a more informal setting. They're not even going to come in and see me. They're not going to be in front of Judge Hershey or in the courtroom setting. If that can't be avoided, maybe it's something a little bit more serious, but nonetheless something that's workable. We have the consent decree that's already been explained, but basically it's giving kids a period of probation just to make sure everything's okay, to kind of get it through to them that this isn't the kind of behavior that's going to work in their best interests. But the big thing about a consent decree is, again, we can wipe away that charge We can make it go away if they successfully complete it, so they're not going down the road with something on their record. You know, if they want to go to college, if they want to go to military recruitments, if they're looking for job clearances for certain jobs, these juvenile records follow them. It's a very serious deal. So we're trying everything that we can to keep a mistake that they made as a kid from ruining a potential opportunity later. And that's something that we really, really focus on. Sometimes we do have children that come to us from other counties. Maybe the offense happened here. We will just do what we need to do by the perspective of the law, maybe what we call findings of fact. I won't go too far down the rabbit hole with what the legal terms are. And then we'll let their home county decide what to do. Sometimes we have kids from Bedford County that had a little issue in another county. That case is going to come back to us and we're going to handle it, because the best place for them to get treatment, to be supervised, to kind of have a little input is in the county where they're from, where the resources for them are available. Unfortunately, I do have kids who are going to end up with an adjudication on their record. Consent decree maybe is something that's not available to them, or maybe unfortunately they've already had one in the past and now they're back. Because unfortunately, I do have some of my kids that do come back with more than one case. I have some kids that have had a number of cases, and those are the more serious cases that we're talking about when we move on to placement. The kids that are adjudicated, maybe we can work out a positive agreement. I can talk the district attorney's office into dismissing some charges, and we'll agree to this charge. We kind of try to have a little trading back and forth. My job is always to mitigate damage. My job is always to try to reduce any damage that I can. No matter how well we try to work together in the system, I'm nonetheless a defense attorney at the end of the day. And I'm going to do the job that I have to do to try to minimize any risk and damage that I can. I have had juvenile cases that I've taken all the way to adjudication hearings. That would be like a trial. But instead of a jury, the judge sits as fact finder. We don't often do those because, again, we're trying to mitigate risk. And assuming the Commonwealth has a pretty good case, we don't want to see a juvenile have something more serious if we can work out something less serious. But I have handled, in particular, it comes to mind, some juvenile rape cases where fortunately I was able to get a not delinquent. But again, we often are trying to just mitigate damage. Juvenile court works exponentially faster than adult court. We are making extraordinarily serious decisions for kids in very short periods of time. Adult court, your case might be there for months. It can even get stretched out for a year or more, or even longer. We have very, very short timelines to work with in juvenile court. So the team of people that you've heard about today are working very quickly as soon as we find out about a case. We are moving. When we have cases where unfortunately a child has to be detained right away because of a charge, and recently for me that has been allegations of rape, that's been allegations of arson, that's been allegations of assault with a deadly weapon. There are times where kids are in such a serious allegation that they are taken into custody right away. That entails them being detained, and we have to have a hearing within 72 hours of detaining that child. We have to move fast. So probation is moving fast on where is that child being detained. We don't have enough juvenile resources in this Commonwealth at all. I have juvenile clients that are detained as far away as Ohio because that's where we can get a detaining bed. And then these JPOs and their supervisors are driving the child to Ohio, and within 72 hours, they're driving them back because we got to have a hearing. When we're handling hearings for a child that's detained, we're going to be back in court within 10 days. So everything that we are doing is at lightning speed compared to adult court, which is just adding to the pressure that Director Smith and some others have pointed to that their staff and their caseworkers are under, because they don't have time to just sit around and marinate on this and make, endless phone calls. We've got to go fast. Unfortunately, in detentions, They do occur, but again, they're in rare circumstances. The amount of cases that we put through, the vast majority of them are gonna be an informal adjustment, a consent decree, or maybe probation. It is only the rarer cases where something is so serious that someone has to be detained. There are also times where unfortunately we have had children who have put themselves at high risk by absconding from our area, absconding from their parents' residence to where their family and friends don't know where they are. We have had children brought back from other states. One that comes to mind was many states away, not even a contiguous state, and at risk of some very serious outcomes. So in the world that we live in now, our kids are making contacts with people over the internet, over social media, gaming devices, you name it. So the risk is even higher. So sometimes those detentions are also to protect the child. Again, thinking of someone who had to be brought back from another state who was with an adult. That adult was met over a device, and that adult talked this juvenile into fleeing from their residence and traveling multi-states away. It's extraordinarily dangerous. So we're not always detaining because, oh, you've done something bad. We're detaining because we're scared. We're scared and we're glad that you're safe and you've been returned. When we do move to placements, as Attorney Clark indicated, those are the more rare cases. We, as Judge Hershey aptly stated, are always looking at the least restrictive means. What do we need to do to provide rehabilitation for this juvenile, because we are trying to avoid ever seeing them in the adult system. We want to address whatever issues may exist now. We want all the interventions to happen now. While someone's on probation, we can do those things. Outpatient drug and alcohol, family-based counseling, psychiatric services. There's all kinds of things that we can do in the community. No, we do not have enough resources. That was also pointed out. That's 100% true. I feel that way about the adult side as well. But we can at least get kids with multiple treatment providers. Some of these kids have whole teams of people working with them. But unfortunately, there are some situations that are so serious that even I, as a defense attorney, have to just be honest with my client and with their parents and say, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but this is going to end up in placement. This is really serious. And typically that is things we've already discussed. Arson, rape, aggravated assault, absconding. Unfortunately, families tend to be often the victims in these types of cases. Often children offend on children. A lot of times in sexual assault cases, it's sibling upon sibling. And what do we learn about that? Well, a lot of times my kids have been victims. My kids have been neglected. They've been abused. They've been sexually assaulted. And now that behavior has progressed through them. And now someone else is a victim. And it's cyclical. We are doing what we can do to try to stop that cycle. You cannot address something like that only in community-based care for some kids. I've had kids, while I'm here for their hearings, abscond from the building and have to be apprehended here in the borough. I've had kids, while in placement, commit new offenses. So we are really placing the kids with the highest level of need, the kids that really we're scared about. We're scared for them. We're scared about their upcoming adulthood. I have met with parents who have tried every resource they've been given, and they're doing the absolute best they can. And whether people realize it or not, some kids have very serious mental health issues. Sometimes they have a mental health issue that's also paired with an intellectual disability. Every kid is different. So I've worked with parents who've done everything asked of them by every treatment provider, and they're at their wit's end. They don't want their child to leave the home, but we're at a point where what else do we do? I've had parents who were the victims. So they're working with the district attorney about how they were victimized, and then they're coming over to talk to me about the fact that now their child's also leaving their home. You want to talk about a horrid situation for somebody to be in. That's a horrid situation for somebody to be in. Or parents who, they love their child, but their child has sexually assaulted their other child. So now they have a child that's a victim and a child that's a perpetrator. Again, what a horrid situation to be in. And those are the stories that I'm hearing in the confidential rooms. Those are the things you're never going to hear about because what we do is quiet. What we do is confidential. We don't want you to hear what's going on. You shouldn't know those things. This is personal to these kids and their families. But again, I can't stress it enough, as my colleagues already have. They're not line items on a budget. And if that child is in placement, it is for a very, very solid reason. And we have tried to avoid that at every turn. Judge Hershey makes it very clear to all of us and all the treatment providers that no child is to be in placement a day longer than necessary. She routinely moves hearings on her docket because a child is ready to move either back home or to a step-down placement before that 3-month review hearing, and she has that hearing moved. We have different levels of facilities that we use when someone has to be placed. It might be a group home setting, might be all the way up to a very secure setting. When we have a child, for instance, who's committed arson, I can think of 2 fire starting programs in the entire state. That's what we've got to pick from, 2. So what their level of security is what we're stuck with. When we have a child who has absconded, who has taken off and cannot be found, that creates a lot of liability for a less secure facility, and they will reject that child. They will not take them as into their treatment program. So that sticks us with using a more secure placement, a placement that has a lot more lockdown and a lot more rules. When someone's in a secure placement, we can't just go from a secure placement to home. I mean, what a shock to the system of 9 months in a secure placement and then home. So usually that involves a step down. That usually involves some work along the way to get them prepared to move, to take what they learned in a secure setting and slowly implement that as they come to less restrictive settings and ultimately home. Obviously, we are trying to avoid those secure settings where impossible, but sometimes we can't because of the level of need, the level of the offense, and the placement saying, no, we don't have a program that fits this particular situation. So it's not just us picking and choosing a placement. There are a lot of things that go into that. And Mrs. Sheffield is key in that. She's calling them, she's discussing the charges, she's discussing the treatment programs, and they're intentionally handpicking programs that best suit the fact pattern of the child that we're dealing with and their particular needs, whether it's drug and alcohol, whether it's mental health, maybe it's both. So again, we're putting a lot of time, effort, and energy into doing what we think is best for these kids, because we want them to have the best chance of life moving forward. The kids that we currently have placed are for the types of offenses that we've already discussed or have significantly absconded. On a rare instance, a kid who is on probation may violate the terms of their probation to the extent that we can't just deal with it with some more restrictions. We try to put as many restrictions in to address the problem as we can because we don't want anybody to leave their home, but sometimes that becomes necessary. Fortunately, that's rare. So when you are seeing numbers of, oh, well, gee, CYS or probation has X amount of kids placed, and it's costing us X amount of dollars. Well, how much is a kid worth? How much is their future worth? Because they're here and they're coming back here and they're our citizens, they're our future voters, they're our future taxpayers, and they matter. And we don't want them in the adult side. Nothing breaks my heart more as a public defender as to watch one of my former juvenile clients walk through the door as an adult client. Nothing breaks my heart more. So I appreciate everyone here as a taxpayer who is helping us to provide this treatment. That's where your money goes. Your money is going to help kids, and it's so important. And I just appreciate everyone taking the time to hear about what we do and to listen to that and kind of get educated on it, because it's been a little bit of a topic lately, and this is Juvenile Justice Month, and we just want you to understand that our goal is to really help here. It's not to punish. and we're doing the best that we can with all the resources that we have. And all the people behind me that have already spoke are the best of the best, and they deserve all of your thanks and appreciation because they work very, very hard. Thank you.
All right, I know we've been at it for a while here, so I'll make this as brief as possible. So my court administrator is passing out information for everyone here. I have 25 copies. I didn't know how many. I'll let you get those passed out. I will say for, I'm going to talk about how hardworking and dedicated the people are that work across all these departments. I don't deal with the CYS caseworkers very much because that's not part of my caseload. I will say though, in the off chance that I get a case from Judge Hershey that she can't handle, you had to recuse herself in or something like that, they're very professional, very hardworking, and they're a great group of people. I learn a lot from them. So everyone good? Any information? Okay, so if you flip to the, I basically have 5 statements that I'm going to take you through to summarize what we've heard, and then give you some statistical information to back that up. So first statement is the stakeholders in the Bedford County juvenile justice system are hardworking and dedicated to the safety and best interests of our youth and our community. I don't think that Mr. Gresco gave this anecdote, but there was one occasion, I believe, we couldn't find a placement for a juvenile, and I think you had caseworkers stay overnight in the office.
We had to, yeah.
Yes.
That happened on 2 occasions since I've been with the agency.
Yeah, so, I mean, that shows you the level of dedication that some of these workers have. I know in the probation office as well, they're driving late hours in the night, trying to get these kids to places that they're safe in. This is not a job that they can come in at 10 in the morning or leave at Friday at noon. It's a 24-hour day job that they got to be on call. And when they get a call from a family, or CYS or probation gets a call saying, "Hey, this kid needs help," they don't have the option of saying no and then not explaining why they're not going to do anything. They have to come up with solutions. And you heard about the timelines, how quick that needs to be done, that they have to find a solution for these kids. If you flip to page 3 there, Judge Hershey talked about the increase in court hearings. So the title there is Juvenile Court Hearings Held 2024. And all of the information I'm giving you here is from the Juvenile Court Judges Commission, put up by the state. They collect all this and they give us a report every year. I pulled this from the 2024 and 2019 years, and I'll tell you why. But this is 2024. This lists all the court hearings by county. This is not the entire state. I just grabbed the first page here, but you get a good idea. That increase in hearings from 2023 and 2022 to 2024, we're up 68%. So that means Judge Hershey is having 68% more court hearings to review these cases and get these kids out of placements and put them in the places that we need them the most. She's putting in the hard work, and everyone that you just heard from is putting in the hard work to make sure these kids aren't in placement any longer than they need to be. If you look down there, we're the highest in the state in increases from the last year. If you flip to page 4, second statement, the statistics and outcomes of the juvenile justice in Bedford County are equivalent to similarly situated counties. So one thing that I was kind of
Services, Cambria County Child Advocacy Center, Inc., for a period of July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026, based upon the recommendation of Christopher Gresco, Administrator, Bedford County Children and Youth Services.
So moved.
Second.
Having a first and a second, any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next, we have a motion to approve the administrative agreement with the Borough of Everett Area Municipal Authority for the CDBG FFY 2024 DEAMA Water Line Replacement Project, based on the recommendation of Jeffrey Fellows, CDBG Administrator for Bedford County.
So moved.
I'll second.
Having a first and a second, any additional comments? Jeff, did you want to say anything?
It's basically just the responsibilities of the county and the Borough of Everett for that CDBG project, and anything that would go above and beyond our CDBG amount would be covered by Everett Borough.
Good. All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion will carry. Next, we have a motion to act on the approval of the proclamation for Breast Cancer Awareness Month based upon the recommendation of the Bedford County Commissioners. And I believe Kelly Cooks is going to read that for us. Would you go up here, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Susan Coombs, and I will be accepting the proclamation. I thank you so much for the proclamation. Bedford County Board of Commissioners, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, whereas breast cancer is the second most commonly diagnosed cancer among women in the United States, and although rare, it's also diagnosed in American men. And whereas 1 in 8 women in the United States will be diagnosed every 2 minutes with breast cancer, and less than 1% of American men will be diagnosed. Skin cancer in women and prostate cancer in men are among the cancers that are most commonly diagnosed. And whereas breast cancer is the second leading cause of death among women in the United States, we've estimated that over 316,950 will be diagnosed, and more than 42,170 will lose the fight. Although rare, 2,800 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer, and more than 510 will lose the fight. And whereas the Bedford County Pink Ribbon Fund was formed in June 2017 by a very dedicated, enthusiastic group of local volunteers. And whereas the goal of the Bedford County Pink Ribbon Fund is to help in the fight against breast cancer by raising funds at various events throughout the year. And whereas the funds raised by these events will be directed to Bedford County breast cancer recipients, and monies will be dispersed where it is the most needed, helping the people of Bedford County. Now therefore, we, the Commissioners of Bedford County, do hereby proclaim the week of October 12th to 18th, 2025 as Pink Ribbon Fund Week in Bedford County, Pennsylvania, and urge the citizens of Bedford County to participate in activities that are coordinated by the Pink Ribbon Fund and join in their efforts of education, advocacy, and service to those battling breast cancer. The annual Pink Ribbon Fund will be held this Saturday, October 18th. Registration will begin at 8:30 and the walk kicks off at 10 a.m. We will walk from the Bedford Middle School to the Omnis Bedford Springs, where Omnis provide a reception on the lawn of the mill. Teens are welcome, and if you're unable to walk, the Bedford Fort will have a walkathon on the porch of the Bedford Inn. To date, the Pink Ribbon Fund has helped those women and men that are battling breast cancer to the tune of $350,000. Every cent raised stays within Bedford County. And as you know, Bedford County is very generous and they help those in need, and I'm very proud to be part of this board and to be part of Bedford County. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take a motion, please.
So moved.
Second. Having a first and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion will carry. A motion to act on the approval of the National Business Women's Week 2024 proclamation. This is based upon the recommendation of Sherry Groudon, President of the Bedford Business and Professional Women's Club. I believe.
Sherry had to leave. She asked me if I would read it.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's fine with me.
Okay. National Business Women's Week, October 19th through 25th, 2025. Whereas working women constitute 79 million or 51.7% of the nation's workforce and strive to serve their communities, their states, and their nation in professional, civic, and cultural capacities. And whereas women-owned businesses account for 42% of all U.S. business, generating 1.9 trillion in sales and employing 9.4 million people. And whereas working women should be applauded for their contributions to the workplace and the financial stability of their families, especially during the economic turndown when more women have become their family's breadwinner. And whereas The major goal of Business and Professional Women's Foundation is to promote equity for all women and to help create better conditions for working women through the study and advocacy of social, educational, and economic issues impacting women in the workplace. And whereas since 1928, National Business Women's Week has honored the contributions of working women and employers who support working women and their families. And whereas the Bedford Business and Professional Women's Club wholeheartedly supports the concept set forth in the celebration of National Business Women's Week. And therefore, we, the Commissioners of Bedford County, Pennsylvania, by the authority vested in us, do hereby proclaim October 19th, 2025 to October 25th, 2025 as National Business Women's Week. And this event is sponsored by the Business and Professional Women's Foundation. We urge all citizens, businesses, and community organizations in Bedford County, Pennsylvania, to join this salute to working women. Encourage and promote the celebration of the achievements of all working women as they contribute daily to our economic, civic, and cultural goals and livelihood.
Thank you. Take a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Having a first and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion will carry. Next, we have a motion to act on the approval of the proclamation Operation Greenlight for Veterans Month. This is based upon the recommendation of Gretchen Morton, Director of Veterans Affairs. And I believe Gretchen's going to read this for us.
Bedford County Board of Commissioners supporting Operation Greenlight for Veterans. Whereas the residents of Bedford County have great respect, admiration, and the utmost gratitude for all the men and women who have selfishly served our country and this community in armed forces. And whereas the contributions and sacrifices of the men and women who served in the armed forces have been vital to maintaining the freedoms and way of life enjoyed by our citizens. And whereas Bedford County seeks to honor these individuals who have made countless sacrifices for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas veterans continue to serve the community in the American Legion, veterans of foreign wars, religious groups, civil service, and by functioning as county veteran service officers in 29 states to help fellow former service members access more than $52 billion in federal health, disability, and compensation benefits each year. And whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition to civilian communities annually. And whereas an estimated 20% increase of service members will transition to civilian life in the near future. And whereas studies indicate that 42 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during transition from military to civilian life. And whereas active military service members transitioning from military service at a high risk of suicide during the first year after military service. And whereas the National Association of Counties encourages all counties, parishes, and boroughs to recognize Operation Greenlight for veterans. And whereas Bedford County appreciates the sacrifice of our United States military personnel and believes specific recognition should be granted. Therefore, it resolved with designation of the Green Light for Veterans County, Bedford County hereby declares that November 4th through Veterans Day, November 11, 2025, a time to salute and honor the service and sacrifices of our men and women in uniform transitioning from active service. Thank you.
Make that motion?
I'm sorry, what is that?
Good.
Oh. Oops, missed that one. Therefore, be it further resolved that the observance of Green Light Bedford County encourages the citizens in patriotic transition to recognize the importance of honoring all those who made immeasurable sacrifices, and preserve the freedom by displaying the green light in the window of their places of business of residence from November 4th through the 11th, 2025.
Thank you.
Now I'll make that motion.
I second it.
Having a first and a second, we'd all like to say thank you to our veterans for what they've given to us.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Excuse me. Next, we have a motion to act on the following reappointments of members to the Bedford County Agricultural Land Preservation Board for the following period of January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028, based upon the recommendation of Stephanie Clevenstein, Director of Planning, Rick Musselman, and Andy Lang.
So moved.
I'll second.
Having a first and a second, is there any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. A motion to enact the resolution as presented approving in accordance with section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended, a plan of financing by the Butler County General Authority for the undertaking of a project for the benefit of Valley Special Needs Program, Inc., based on the recommendation of Bedford County Commissioners. And I believe Jamie and Ferrero is going to read that for us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Would you like me to read the resolution in full for the record or just summarize?
You can do a summary if you want, because we're running lengthy.
Thank you. So I thought I would ask. So the resolution before you today for your consideration is for Valley Special Needs Services. Like I said, my name is Jamie Ferreira. I am bond counsel for Valley Special Needs Services. They are undertaking a financing through the Butler County General Authority, where they're going to be refinancing 21 mortgages for individual residential group homes that they own and operate for individuals with disabilities throughout Western Pennsylvania. 5 of those properties are located here within Bedford County, Bedford Borough, Bedford Township, Woodbury Borough, and Cumberland Valley Township. And in doing so, and part of the process of undertaking tax-exempt financing, the authority that's issuing the debt, the Butler County General Authority, and the organization need approval from all of the counties where properties are located, and that's called a TEFRA approval. So with that, we've also held a TEFRA hearing, which was advertised in the newspaper. It was held remotely on September 4th. The Butler County Commissioners gave their TEFRA approval, and then that started the process to receive approval from 5 other counties, Bedford County included, for this project. So with that being said, all of that is included within the resolution, and we're asking for your consideration today to approve the resolution so the project can move forward for Valley Community Services. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
My one question is, what does this mean for the county of Bedford financially?
Sure, absolutely. It means nothing. So the county is not liable for the debt of the authority or the borrower. It does not pledge any of its, full faith credit taxing power. None of that, and all of that is set forth within the resolution as well. So there's no liability to the county. It's just providing an approval and saying that we've gone through the appropriate public process.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'd like to make note in section 3, it does say, the note shall not constitute debt or obligation of the county of Bedford. It does not obligate the taxing power of the county of Bedford anyway. So I just want to draw special attention to that. We also did run this by our solicitor, Dean Crabtree, and he said the following: tariff is a tax-exempt bond issuance that requires approval of the host, which is the county, and the funds will be issued. As he indicated, the approval does not create a financial obligation by the county for the debt. I have no concerns with the approval. And that was our solicitor, Dean Crabtree. He said the county's taking on no debt with this bond obligation. So I just want to make sure the county residents are aware of that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second, having a first and a second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion will carry. Next, we have a motion to accept the bid received for the Bedford County Broadband Infrastructure Project by Connell's Asphalt, Inc. as the lowest bidder as outlined in the invitation for bid, based upon the recommendation of project engineer ATCS, Inc.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
And I believe we have Marty and
It's on.
some. Would you guys like to say something about the project in general?
Yeah, this project is,
You go up to the microphone, please.
yes, this project is the construction of 3 cell towers in Bedford County. We received 2 bids. The lowest bidder was Carlos Asphalt Maintenance from Bedford County. And the length of the project is almost a year.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
I just have one comment. I'm excited that Cuddles Asphalt did win the bid, keeping that work local for local workers to do the projects, keeping that money local, investing in his families and his children, and it has that ripple effect in our community. So I'm excited that Cuddles was the lowest bidder, and we're going to keep that work going.
With a good reputation.
So great reputation, yes.
So what was the difference in, we've waited, this is the one we've kept extending the date. What was the difference in us finally getting some bids that were acceptable?
I think I did look at it previously, and the bidders we saw before, they were experienced in building towers, but all of them weren't, for whatever reason, interested in this project. They were from out of the county, or some of them were out of the state. And we relied on their input for advertising the job and trying to, select a bidder. Unfortunately, on all 3 occasions that we bid this job out, they weren't interested for whatever reason. They were too busy. Some of them didn't like the bid bonds. Some of them didn't like the conditions we had. Of course, these conditions were the legal that we have to adhere to here in Bedford County in the state of Pennsylvania. Finally, we engaged some of the local contractors, and we were fortunate to get Carlos Asphalt.
So you reached out specifically to some locals?
We did reach out, yes.
And Carlos has experience building towers as well.
Yes, they have built some before.
Yes.
I just want to thank you as our engineering firm for reaching out to builders and promoting the project. We appreciate going that extra mile.
Of course.
Yes.
Stephanie, do you have anything to say on this or not?
I'm excited that it's finally getting to move forward. I would have loved to put this project behind me a long time ago, but I'm really excited to be working with Cottles and ATCS to get this project done. And I know the property owners that we've leased from, I've talked to them recently, they are also excited to be getting this project moving forward, so.
So do we know any timeline from Cottles yet on this? Like,
We will hold a pre-construction meeting very soon. We did request that we try to finish the first site because we do have already T-Mobile to mount some equipment on the one tower, and I believe Carl's already working on that because they did ask for some information. So even before we ordered the job to them, they are working to try to make it good for Bedford County.
so when you've had this meeting, can you come back and update us, please?
Yes, we will have a pre-construction meeting where we put a schedule together and we will go through and we'll share that with the county. I know the deadline is end of October of 2026, but some sites hopefully will be done earlier than that, so.
And having T-Mobile on the tower also gives a little bit of revenue for the county as well.
Correct. We already have some, I believe in the contract, some equipment already on these towers, but yeah, the more we use, the more beneficial for the county.
Yes.
But primarily, people are going to get served that do
Absolutely.
not have that opportunity right now. And so that's great news.
Yeah, so I'll just add, the primary purpose of the towers is for broadband service, but we did allow cellular providers to be aware that the towers are being built. So that's where T-Mobile had reached out to us and asked to put their equipment on. So again, yeah, you're looking at not only broadband service, but hopefully extended cellular service to our residents.
Okay. If There's no further questions, having a first and a second, all those in favor?
Aye, enthusiastically so. Exclamation mark,
That
so.
motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have a motion to approve the 2026 holiday schedule based on the recommendation of the Bedford County Commission. We're not going to read it, it'll be as listed.
So moved.
I'll second.
Having a first and a second, any additional comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion will carry. Next, we have a motion to act on the approval of the following personal actions received by department heads for September 2025 as listed.
I'll make that motion.
Seconded.
Having a first and a second, any additional comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion will carry. Now we have commissioner comments, approval, appointments. We have bridge, repairs of bridge, County Bridge number 2 in Woodbury Township. Both of these items on the agenda are for the same bridge. It's to review the bids for the railing repairs and acceptance of low bids from Krylon Corporation as a recommendation of Layman Engineers and ATCS. This work was less than the threshold required for public bidding. 3 bids were solicited and obtained from qualified contractors by Layman Engineers. We received 3 bids from Krylon, one at the price of $17,981.66, from Cottle's Asphalt Maintenance for $18,995, and George S. Hand and Son Inc. at $32,836. We are awarding the bid to Krylon Corporation at $17,981.66. Do we need a motion on that?
Okay, I'll make a motion.
No, second.
And we'd like, any further comments from Aaron?
I mean, I think you summed it up. Layman's oversaw the bidding and the repair details, and they will see it through construction. This is Bridge 2, which is Mill Street over Yellow Creek in Woodbury Township. The repairs are to the railing. It's a safety issue. It was observed during the most recent bridge inspection. So this is just routine upkeep of the bridge. But we agree with their recommendation, and we concur with the recommendation.
Okay, having a first and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
That will carry. I would like to say, as we're still in a state budget impasse, and with the federal shutdown, it's causing financial concerns for Bedford County. Because Bedford County, as you know, we get 80% funding for children and youth from the state. Without having that funding coming in, we've been paying that out of our own pocket. So at this point, we're going to be looking at other alternatives, what we're going to do moving forward, because we don't know when the state budget impasse will be completed.
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, we've been apprised that before the end of the year, we're going to need to take some kind of action to address this. And there's a lot of different options on the plate, but we'd sure prefer not to have to take them and have the state pass its budget.
I think one of the things we've requested departments to really minimize their spending as much as possible, to really scale back that spending, instead of stocking up on things, or, try to just get through what you have, try to stretch it, so try to limit your requests. I think another thing we're doing is we're paying the county's portion of payments, but when it comes to state reimbursements, part of those payments we're withholding at the moment, just to try to make what the money we have stretch out. And our vendors are aware of that and we've communicated that. And so we're trying to just make it through and try to hang with the best we can until the state gets together and gets the budget passed. And of course, we have the federal shutdown as well, which affects, it's a trickle-down effect when it comes to us receiving our funding. So.
Yeah, and as far as hiring, only we're only hiring positions that are critical to the operations of the county at this point, and putting a hold on the others right now.
So if any of you see any of your state representatives, put a bug in their ear, because they were kind enough to reach out. Stacey Gary reached out to Treasurer and said that they would loan the county's money at 4.5% interest. But what I'd like to know is for July, August, and September, will we cover their 80% cost? Will they pay us 4.5% interest? I have my doubts. Okay, if nobody has any additional comments, I'll take a motion to adjourn. So, okay, we'll adjourn this and we'll go to our salary board meeting, which I promise won't be nearly as long. Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. And what time is it? 11:57. President or myself.
Are you all running to lunch? I want to know.
President or myself, Commissioner Wink, Commissioner Hoffman, and Melissa Cottle, Secretary Treasurer. Okay, I will take a motion for the approval of the minutes for September 9th, 2025. So
I'll second.
having a first and a second, any additional comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion will carry. We have no old business, and under new business, we just have a motion to act on the approval of wages or as by union contracts for the following personnel based upon the recommendation of their respective department heads for October as listed.
Second. I'll second.
Having a first and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
That motion will carry. I guess next we'll adjourn the meeting. Our next meeting will be held on November 18th, 2025, unless called to order by the Board of Commissioners. Take a motion. So moved. Thank you. Thank you all.